Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Anna Manuel. 10 people have been charged following the disappearance and death of an Ithaca man. 9 out of the 10 have been charged with the kidnapping in the first degree of Thomas Rath, with 2 out of the 10 individuals having been charged with second-degree murder of the man. Rath went missing at the end of May. The investigation into his disappearance led to the discovery of his remains in a shallow grave. Rath's body was found August 3rd. The investigation spanned multiple counties and the state of Maine. There's a new registered trauma center in our area. Our Maggie Hall visited Guthrie Corning Hospital to learn more.
Guthrie Corning Hospital is now a Level 3 trauma center. I spoke to some folks from the hospital about what this means for the surrounding community. In the past, trauma patients may have had to be airlifted to be triaged at Robert Packer Hospital or even Strong Memorial in Rochester. Now they can be cared for right here at home.
This is the culmination of a journey to bring very, very complex care to this hospital system. And what it's going to mean for this community is that folks that would have had to travel hours can now be taken care of in their own neighborhood, if you will. And what that means from outcomes, from clinical outcomes, is that people are going to survive that might have, from severe trauma, might have not survived if they hadn't been able to get this care.
Dr. Elizabeth Lincoln Hale, with her team of nurses and physicians, care for patients every day. We talked about how this accreditation will impact those patients.
Yeah, so we know that the sooner you can get to a trauma center, the better your chances of survival are. And so being able to kind of cut down that distance in some severe trauma cases is going to change people's outcomes and their survival rates, and potentially have less mortality because they've been able to be stabilized with us. And so being able to deliver blood products and mass transfusions and stop bleeding, initially stabilize complex fractures and neurosurgical emergencies, we're very excited to be able to deliver that to our community.
Board members and physicians all gathered to celebrate the news of the Level 3 Trauma Center title for the hospital. The Guthrie Corning Hospital can now continue to deliver life-saving care.
Part of Elmira's major highway is still underwater after heavy flash flooding. Heavy rains yesterday led to the flooding of I-86 and the closure of both I-86 east and westbound. As of today, while eastbound is still underwater, the westbound lanes were open with one lane closed on the eastbound side. The Chemung County Sheriff's Office advises people to avoid the highways if possible to prevent delays. A hike-a-thon will take place in Elmira in September. The Community Dispute Resolution Center will host this fundraiser. It will take place September 15th and 16th. Hikers are invited to complete a short day hike or overnight hike to raise money for the organization. For more information, visit the CDRC's website. Relief could be on the way for millions of Americans struggling to afford their prescription medications. The White House unveiling the first batch of prescription drugs selected for Medicare price negotiations in an effort to lower health care costs. Although the price changes won't take effect until 2026, the program is expected to save Medicare nearly $99 billion over 10 years, according to the Congressional Budget Office. The 10 drugs that are named include medications for cardiovascular issues, diabetes, autoimmune disease, and cancer. Former President Donald Trump's legal calendar is taking shape, and it's going to create new challenges in his quest to regain the White House. And as Doug Luzader reports from Washington, it comes as new poll numbers show his support dropping in recent days.
This new poll still shows the former president with a 38-point lead over the rest of the Republican field, but that is a bit of a drop following last week's debate and Trump's ongoing legal drama. Former President Trump's time on the campaign trail could soon run into some major limits. A federal judge in D.C. yesterday set a trial date for his election interference case, and it's much sooner than the Trump team was pushing for.
If this date holds, it would mean that the Washington case would be the first of the 4 criminal cases against Trump to reach trial. It would also come one day before Super Tuesday, which is a crucial date in the presidential nominating calendar.
And Trump responded on his Truth Social site, writing, "Today, a biased, Trump-hating judge gave me only a 2-month extension Just what our corrupt government wanted. Super Tuesday. I will appeal. And just take a look at how the coming months are shaping up, with Trump's legal dates in red coinciding with major political dates in blue. Are all of these legal developments taking a toll? A new Emerson College poll puts Trump's support at a still strong 50% among GOP voters, but that's still a 6-point drop from 9 days earlier. A former UN ambassador, Nikki Haley, among those who saw her numbers go up in the wake of last week's debate. And she has said Trump's legal woes will take a toll.
And I agree with a lot of his policies. But the fact is, I don't know if it's 4 or 5 or 6 or how many indictments it is now, but he's going to spend a lot of time in a courtroom and not on a campaign trail.
On the other hand, Trump's campaign has been able to leverage some of these indictments to help boost fundraising efforts. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Hurricane Idalia is barreling toward Florida, with forecasters expecting it to make landfall as a Category 3 storm. With just hours to go, folks on Florida's west coast are getting ready. Rebecca Castor has more.
Folks on Florida's west coast are making final preparations before Idalia makes landfall. Idalia strengthening into a hurricane on Tuesday, hours after making landfall in Cuba. Torrential rain quickly flooded streets and homes on the island. The storm is now churning toward Florida, prompting evacuation orders across the state's west coast. Officials urging everyone to listen to these warnings and get out while they can.
You do not have to leave the state. You don't have to drive hundreds of miles. You have to get to higher ground in a safe structure. You can ride the storm out there, then go back to your home once the storm passes.
Forecasters expect Idalia to whip up hurricane-force winds and life-threatening storm surge starting late Tuesday. People are now racing against the clock to board up homes and businesses, fill sandbags, and stock up on essentials. But despite living through many of these storms, some folks here say this one feels different.
It's coming fast. We don't have the typical week or week and a half prepared time.
Thousands of National Guard members and airmen remain on standby ahead of Idalia's arrival, and utility crews are in position to respond to any outages. As this storm moves north, officials in Georgia say they're prepared for any scenario.
There could be a need for shelters to be set up. There could be a need for, feeding stations, blankets, tarps, all of those things.
And the Coast Guard is also staging rescue boats to respond to emergencies during and after the storm. In Bel Air, Florida, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Your complete forecast is next. Plus, if you've noticed a change in your Amazon shipping prices, your eyes aren't deceiving you. More on the website's new free shipping requirements. Still ahead.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Good evening. Yesterday was just the evidence that we needed to show how active our month has been, as flash flooding occurs when that water comes in a very short time period and it has nowhere to go. We have very saturated soil, so that water is standing on roadways, standing in low-lying areas, leading to that flash flooding and even those road closures. Now, we did receive that 1.5 inches and even some isolated reports upwards of 2.5 inches from yesterday, and we're seeing that a very similar setup is in place here through the overnight. That is big. Overnight means that it is very difficult to see where flash flooding is occurring, so we need to stay weather aware. What we're watching is that we have this initial low pressure system that has this very strong flow of moisture coming into it, and there's a large emphasis from central portions of Pennsylvania into eastern portions of New York, and we're falling just on the fringe of that system, which is triggering that flood watch. One, due to the evidence yesterday that we have the potential to see flooding occur, and then two, with those very moist values just running up through our local area, that will at least bring the concern in our region. So a flood watch will continue through the overnight. Now, as we look at the numbers, not overly impressive. However, what you see is that there is that chance, and again, with the evidence that flooding will occur if it does rain, especially that heavy downpour, that is going to bring those flash flooding concerns. And we even see that as you look at the forecast, look at those high reflectivities, those reds, yellows, and
oranges, that signals heavy rainfall. And if there are those intense rainfall rains that give us that inch per hour like we had yesterday, that is going to easily trigger flooding. And this is coming at 1 in the morning where it'll be difficult to see that flooding. And that's even in place all the way from central portions of Pennsylvania and then moving into eastern portions of New York through the early morning hours. By the morning, we should see that rain move out with that moisture in place. It is going to be a pretty foggy and gloomy day, but we'll see that there can be some times of some spotty showers, especially with that secondary low pressure system following that initial system that could trigger a few more rain showers as well as bring some breezy conditions. But generally here as we head into our last 2 days of August, dry, and then as well as noting more of a comfortable cool feel. But we will be tracking a warming trend that will take us into a holiday weekend, which is going to be well welcomed. Now, as we look into our Wednesday morning's going to start off with some of those showers, some foggy conditions. We'll deal with passing cloud cover. Again, a few of those evening showers possible, but due to that next system moving in, we will keep temperatures on the cooler side. So holding to those low to mid 70s, overnight temperatures even dropping into those 40s. We'll see sunshine return on Thursday, but only have a high of 73 degrees. But as we step into our first weekend of September and the holiday weekend, there will be that warming that could even bring us back to the 90s by Monday.